Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Feel the Burn podcast, which we do every Thursday night. I am your host today, Franklin Miller, joined by Lamar, Rowan Donahue, and Chris Denson. And today we will be discussing about the Arizona Cardinals losing out on Demeco Ryans and Sean Payton. And where do they go from there since the Cardinals have not yet hired a head coach? And then for the Phoenix Suns, we're going to discuss about Devin Booker's return next week. And we're going to discuss a little more about the Jae Crowder trade rumors since they have one more week until they make something happen. And if you're a Suns fan, you're probably a little nervous, but no worries. We'll try to give you as much content as possible with that and what the Suns should do from here until next Thursday. But to start off, let's just go ahead and call the elephant in the room. The Cardinals missed out on Sean Payton and Demeco Ryans, two of the hottest head coaching candidates um, out there. And right now, they're still in a search for their next head coach. So I'll start with you, Lamar. What was your take and feeling on the Sun, or not the Suns, the Cardinals losing out on Sean Payton and Demeco Ryans in the span of 30 minutes on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think once they hired a GM, that Sean Payton wasn't coming because he's going to offer to get a lot of money, and the GM be pretty much undermined if Sean Payton came. So even though they said there was some traction there, I pretty much figured he was going to either go to Denver or just uh, sit out another year, go work on TV. As far as Ryan's go, I think he wanted to go to the Texans. It seemed like that's where he wanted to go, and you got a 6-year deal out of him. So if they try to do that 1 year and fire him like they did the other coaches, he still got 5 more years to get paid. But moving forward, it seems like the Cardinals are doing their due diligence on getting who they want to hire. I read an article the other day that said somebody that they think that Brian Flores was a leading candidate right now, based on the general manager's background with the Patriots as well. So who knows where they're going to go?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for anything that it's been kind of tough sledding if you're a Cardinals fan because I think nothing was going to steer D'Amico Ryans away from Houston because that's where you know he played to start off his career. That's where he met his wife. He has a family out there, and just a lot of things going for them. And so I think it was always going to be tough for the Cardinals to pitch a great sort of thing for to get D'Amico Ryans to go to Arizona. And as for Sean
Yeah,
Payton,
to touch on that he Ryan's turned down the Broncos job.
mm-hmm,
Broncos wanted him first, but he turned it down.
yep,
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, and I think with the Broncos as well, I think the Broncos had to make a strong hire than splashy hire this offseason, especially with the amount of acquisitions you gave up to get Russell Wilson last year. And then the fact that you have the cap hit where they can't really afford to get rid of him. You don't have any compensation to start over in the draft. So it was going to be tough for the Broncos to just hit the reset button. So you have to make this work in this little window with Russell Wilson. Um, and you might as well have just, you know, trade more acquisitions to go out and get a guy that's, won a Super Bowl in the past and has been notified as one of the best offensive minds in football. So it makes sense from a Broncos standpoint of why they did what they did. But
It's gonna be crazy
Rowan,
seeing.
yeah, I was about to ask you, Rowan, what is your take on the whole thing? Because I know you really wanted Sean Payton last week.
Yeah, man, I did want Sean Payton out here in Arizona, man. The Cardinals polo on with the little visor, coaching up Kyler Murray. I don't know who they're gonna hire, man. According to what everything I read and to point to what Lamar said, they've been interviewing everybody, doing their due diligence. There's really no question. I was looking up some of the betting lines on it earlier today, and Brian Flores is the favorite at -150, and then Mike Kafka +500. Those are the two names I've heard a lot, but at this point, who knows? I thought they would have hired somebody by now. It's been about a month. I think they're gonna take their time and really try to figure out exactly who they want that fits everything that they need.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I sort of wish they got the head coach now before the GM, but I'm happy and I'm personally happy that they're taking their time with it because you want to make sure you get the right guy.
Now you
And I know.
gotta get the GM and then the coach, right?
Well, I think last time something like this happens, I saw this with the Niners where they got the head coach before the GM, so to
Mm.
speak. So that's why I was kind of more so alluding to, and then also I've seen other assets where like, well, you typically want to get the guy that's going to have the most control of the entire operation,
I got you.
or two guys that can just work hand in hand.
I
But
feel
hopefully,
like
it's that guy.
the GM that they just hired came in with the right mindset, and he's about to build a foundation. He's looking for the perfect coach to go with that. You alluded to it in a couple episodes ago about the Patriot way. Not that he's bringing the Patriot way here, but he knows what winning is. I think he'll find a coach that's on the same mindset as him, at least. Maybe somebody that he can not control, but somebody that's he might go somebody younger. You never know. Sean Payton might have been just an old vet he wanted to talk to for 7 hours, pick his brain.
No, man, I 100% agree with that. Absolutely. Chris, what's your thoughts on the whole Cardinals losing out on Sean Payton and Demeco Ryans?
I mean, it's unfortunate, but I do agree with Rowan. Um, and I know what you're saying, like with the 49ers, they did the coach, then the GM. I think it is important, even if it did cost them, which I don't think it may have, but I think it is important to start with the GM and then just kind of trickle your way down, because you could end up bringing in a coach that first, and the GM doesn't necessarily mesh with how the coach is going about, it, and now you got an in-house situation. So I don't. I would hope that that didn't cause the Sean Paytons of the world to not work out, but I mean, it has to be Brian at this point. I mean, it's kind of like I saw Jacob Wright. I think he said the Cardinals and the Colts are the only two teams without a head coach at the moment, and it's just kind of like for the Cardinals, it's like it's got to be Brian. I mean, I thought Sean was a lock once the whole thing came out about the long interview, and I was like, okay, he's probably locked in. But if I'm the Cardinals now, it's like you just got to throw everything to the wall and hope it sticks and get Brian. I mean, you got to get something. I mean, and you can do the whole internal promotion, which I know we talked about, but that's kind of like a last resort. You don't
Yeah,
necessarily want to, you know. If they do go that route, it's probably going to be like an interim thing, which I don't think it'll get to that point. But it's got to be Brian.
you know
Yeah,
what I
I
think.
like
Go
I like that
ahead.
you added. Oh no, you can go ahead, Rowan.
Let me just say one thing to that real quick, because he just made me really think of something. I think if they was gonna hire within, they would have maybe gave him the last 4 games or something, last 5 games, just to see how he would take control of the team. I feel like I've seen
Yeah,
that done in the past.
I think the only reason they may have not done that is because they didn't want to stir the pot more than it was already stirring with Kingsbury and is he gone? Because if they did that, then it's just clear as day. Like, yeah, he's out of there. So there's nothing else coming back from that. But no, yeah, you do have a good point. I don't see that happening.
No, I 100% agree with you guys. I think it was unfortunate as well. I think more than ever, more I think about with the Niners situation I was alluding to. I think Kyle and John, they kind of came together. It was more so Kyle's idea to bring John around. Don't get me wrong, but they did come at the same time, so to speak. But yeah, more I think about it, yeah, you typically want to do GM than the head coach to get that foundation together of where how you want to build the team and
Hmm.
things of that nature. I also agree that if they were to right now choose Vance Joseph after going through all these interviews just to go in house, at this point, you're basically that's what that's telling me is Vance Joseph has 1 year to turn this thing around or he's gone, and that's unfair to him in my opinion. I think it's similar to what Rowan was saying. If it was to go to Vance Joseph, you either have given him 4 games at the end of the season to see what you got in him, or you would have hired him as soon as the season ended. So I think it's you know at this rate, they're probably going somebody else, especially if they've given this much time looking at somebody else to try to find for that next head coach. And even with that, I just wanted to go quickly around and see. So I know, Chris, you said Brian Flores was the guy that you're thinking that's probably going to potentially come here. So I just wanted to kick that off with Lamar. Who do you think, as of now, since they've lost out to Demeco and Sean Payton, who do you think is it's going to be for the next head coach for the Cardinals?
I think it's gonna be Brian Flores. That's my
Brian
gut
Flores?
feeling. Yeah.
Okay.
Feels
Absolutely.
like it, man.
What about you? What about you, Roland?
Man, if I had to pick somebody, I could honestly throw some names in the hat, close my eyes, and hope I get lucky at this point. Have no idea which direction they're going. Only because the GM is fresh and he's new, and I think he's really about to bring his system. So he's looking for the guy that really is going to match it. So it's really no telling who he likes the most, if that makes sense, in my opinion, to guess at this point.
I have a feeling that it's gonna be
Who you got?
somebody. I have a feeling it's gonna be somebody we have no idea about that the GM's like really tight with. A part of
Some
me
old
wants it.
quarterbacks coach from 08.
Some like Patriots, some like guy that's like was with the Patriots back in like 07, 08 or 11. That was like very like not like a Dan Campbell kind of guy where it's like a position coach that we just like
Yeah.
where'd he come from? That they're kind of hiring in the process, but yeah, no, it's kind of tough,
I don't. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, man. I don't think they're gonna have a thing where it may end up being like you said though, where it ends up being somebody we don't even like. You kind of like, I didn't see that coming. And then you will have fans that do get upset because it's like, well, for everything that we thought it was gonna be, okay, maybe it wasn't gonna be Sean Payton, maybe it wasn't gonna be Brian Flores or anybody else, but then you throw somebody in from left field, and then some people may sit back and say, well, we could have kept Kingsbury for this. Some people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but some people.
Yeah, there's so many names, man, that you could choose from in the NFL.
Yeah.
So many people. I think once the Super Bowl's over, they're gonna have even some more interviews. I think they're really waiting for that to allude to some of the names I've heard coming out of the Eagles organization.
Yeah, like
that could be a thing.
Steichen.
Yeah, that's your boy Franklin. I ain't gonna lie, I'm starting to like him. What's his name?
Good,
Shane
man.
Steichen. I'm starting to like him.
I like him, and I like the Bengals DC Lou Anaramo. I think he's really, really good, and a lot of people aren't talking about him enough. And I'm glad that the Cardinals interviewed him. So we shall see. But
it's exciting, man.
It is exciting, absolutely. They'll probably get the head coach job over and done with after the Super Bowl. So get another couple weeks. But until then, let's move on to the Phoenix Suns. They dropped a horrendous game yesterday to the Atlanta Hawks. They lost by 32. Those games happen, They just couldn't make a shot. They couldn't buy a basket. Yeah, you chalk it up. You move on. But so to speak, the bigger thing that you go on from this is Devin Booker is returning next week against the Brooklyn Nets, or could potentially return against the Brooklyn Nets. That's as early as he can potentially come back. I think that's tremendous news for a Phoenix Suns team that's probably going to look a little different Tuesday? Next week. What were you saying, Roland?
I think he's coming back on the road trip.
Yeah, he's coming back on the road trip. Yep. So I'll start off with you, Chris, since you're one of the Suns guys. What's your feel about the Suns team? Even though I know they just dropped a big game last night, but what's your take on the Suns team getting Devin Booker back next week and how they're going to look?
I think they need him. I mean, I think that goes without saying. Last night showed that a go-to scorer is needed. And it's not saying Chris Paul can't be one at moments. Cameron Johnson can't be one at moments. Bridges has shown it, but everybody has off nights. And ironically, all of them had combined off nights, more or less. I think it's good. I wish it would have come sooner, but when you're talking about a growing injury, that's something that can just, last for a long period of time. So it's kept
Mm-hmm.
him out for a decent amount of time. But I mean, the West is a jumble right now. I think I was looking at the standings prior to the game last night. They put them on TV, and I think the Warriors are like I think the win difference between the Warriors and like first place is like a 5-game win difference, not the record difference, just the win difference, which still is crazy. You could be 5 games up, and you're talking about being a top seed or being a playing seed. So I think getting him back is important. And last night showed it. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's you have a valid point there, and just to allude to that as well, the Suns right now are the 8th seed, and the Warriors are a game ahead of them at the 7th seed. But you got the Warriors, Suns, and Jazz all tied basically. Not with the Warriors are 26 and 25, the Suns are 27 26, but realistically, they all have the same record.
They have the same
And
record.
from the Lakers all the way till the till the 5th seed, it's like a 3-game difference, and the Lakers are the 11th seed. So that just goes to show you how tight knit the West is, and we've been saying that ad nauseum
Out
every
of all
week.
these teams, though, don't you look at it and say there's really only 3 teams on the Suns level or above it, and that would be the Warriors or maybe the Blazers.
That are
Just
above
just at
the
this level,
that
like
are
the
above the
Suns.
Suns.
Yeah, don't you feel like the Suns are better than most of these names
Oh yeah, especially when Booker comes
once
back and
healthy?
they get a
Right? Yeah,
couple of
that's what I'm
their
talking about.
and once they get a couple of their rotation players back. Oh,
Like second
a
half
Yeah,
of the
they're
fully
definitely
healthy
season,
better.
a fully healthy Suns team, in my opinion, is a top 4 team in the Western Conference. In my opinion, like in terms of like from a position perspective, I think that teams that I feel like they would have a trouble beating in a playoff setting, to me, is Dallas, of course. I think New Orleans gives them hell.
I
If
think New Orleans still ain't ready though. Like
I
the
know they're
Pelicans,
injured, they're injured.
You
They're
just
kind
yeah,
of
you don't have enough time. Like
yeah,
health is a skill at the end of the day. I mean, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Health is a skill. I mean, if you
yeah.
like
got it, you got it.
100% healthy,
Oh heck yeah.
Suns and Pelicans could be an interesting series, but
Oh, for sure.
They showed
I
that
don't
last
think.
year.
I just
Yeah,
don't
I'll
think the
say they saw him
Pelicans are
last year.
ready to
So
come
yeah, you
100%.
double back like Ron saying everybody's healthy. It could be another interesting series. It might be a little bit better, but I just don't. I think the only thing I would want to see the Suns do is just tinker with this bench a little bit.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
know we get on Aiton pretty hard in here, but I don't really even want to see them move him. One, just because I don't feel like they're going to get a lot back, even though I know he's a hot name. They're probably not going to get what they want. He's probably not going to get traded. If
Yeah.
he does, it'll probably be this offseason after everything like settles. Same thing with Chris Paul, how I saw the report of they're coming to terms with the fact that he's not going to be consistently that guy. So I just think at this point, you tinker with the bench a little bit, get a Crowder trade, and we just run from there. I mean, like you said, this team fully healthy was not a bad team. I don't know. I don't see them being finals contenders. I mean, anything can change. If they make a bigger trade or
You don't think so?
if they turn the world upside. I just don't. I don't see it, and it's not. Once again, it's not picking, but it's just when you get to that stage, what do we go off of? What you did last year. And it's not enough there. Aiton, not picking on him, but he just doesn't take directive well. I saw that clip the other day of Booker trying to give him like coach him up on the sidelines, and he was just kind of like waving it off in the most passive way possible, like, oh, I'm not trying to hear all that. But it's like if you did take that advice from Monty Williams and Devin Booker and the coaching staff when they're seeing these, flaws in your game that can help. And it's like when you get to the playoffs, you don't have time to be that dude that feels like he can't take directions. So I don't see it being a finals appearance, but anything can happen. So
Yeah, Yeah, to add on
I
to that,
think
I
they
feel
can
like
make it.
I feel like a lot of before you go over that, I just feel like a lot of things have to go the Suns' way, similar to how it did
Yeah,
in the 2020 year when they went to the finals. Was I remember a lot of guys were alluding to, well, it was the Suns a fluke because the Lakers got
yeah.
hurt, the Nuggets
I
weren't
was just
fully
gonna say
healthy, the
that.
Clippers weren't fully healthy. Then they got to Milwaukee, they lost in 6 games. So it's like it's kind of like that similar boat as well. It's like, okay, well, who do the Suns really match up well, regardless of who whether they're healthy or not, and that's kind of the trick question. So yeah,
I mean, a
well,
lot of
Rowan.
teams have
Oh,
had that though. I noticed when people bring them up, they're like, some people rebut that and they say, okay, well, this team had an easy route because this player was hurt on this team. So, I mean, pretty much every team, if you think about it, maybe aside from like the Warriors during their run, if they got to the finals, it probably had something to do with another team not being able to be at
mm-hmm.
full go, you know?
Yeah,
But to your credit, yeah, for the Suns to get there, it would take a lot of that to make that where they just shoot themselves in. And I don't even think, depending on who's on the other side of that fence, Eastern Conference wise, if it's one of those top couple of teams, I don't know.
yeah. It's crazy because I feel like against a lot of teams in the West, the Suns really match up well with a lot of teams in the West. Then there are a couple of teams that I feel like you don't want to see them right away, and I feel like one of those teams is Dallas. Personally, I think New Orleans can go either way, but I personally, if I'm the Suns, I wouldn't want to see them either. And then the Warriors, they just find a way every year because there's like a stat where the Warriors are 19-0 when Steph, Clay, and Draymond are healthy for the entire
Crazy. Well,
like
and I saw
series.
something last night where it said that the Suns are 0 and it was either 0-6 or 0-8 on the road this season against Eastern Conference teams.
Oh,
Like they have not won a game, and you can fact
oh,
check me on that, but
oh
they
yeah.
have
I'm
not.
not. I'm not saying they're gonna win no championship. No, they're not there yet.
No, it's just they have not won a game against an Eastern Conference team on the road this season. And you're about to go on the road, and your first stop is the Celtics, and it's only gonna, so Booker coming back is good. You're getting into that second half of the season, you're getting towards the trade deadline. Um, we'll see what happens. It was funny because watching the game last night with the Hawks, they were saying, ironically, when these two teams, because they'll play again, Suns are going to Atlanta to play them, and they said, ironically, we could be looking at two totally different teams a little bit when they meet
Yep.
again, and literally, couple days, a week. So, never know.
You're 100% correct on that. And I just wanted to let you get in on this too, Rowan, in terms of like what's been said so far. It's like we
Man, I
could.
agree with all of it, man. I think as soon as Booker comes back, chemistry gonna snap back. He's gonna take over. He's gonna be in minutes probably restricted, but he's gonna be taking over, man. He's gonna be the Devin Booker that we was calling the MVP in October and November. I think he's gonna come and put this team on his back. I think if this team gets fully healthy and goes into this playoffs, there's one or two teams that could beat them. I think they can get to the finals. I don't think they beat anybody out of the East, but I do think they can get there to the Western Conference Finals. I would put my money on it right now to at least make
Oh
it
yeah.
to the Western Conference Finals.
Just because the West is just wide open. Is that like, kind of like
I
why?
could see it being like the Suns if they, like you said, stuff go right. Maybe the Nuggets in the West.
I feel like the West is
I
full of a lot of incomplete
You
teams.
know,
I was just
I
gonna
was
say I don't really. I was gonna start, and I'm like, I don't really get like the Grizzlies. Yeah, they're good, but I don't see it this year for them. I saw it last year. I don't really see it this year. I just
I was
don't.
about to piggyback on that too. The way I kind of saw the Suns play the Nuggets on Christmas Day with a lot of their guys out encouraged me a lot with how I feel like they match up with them, even with a fully healthy Nuggets team. And also Memphis, I just think the Suns do a good job of defending them and knowing exactly like they'll let Ja get his numbers, but as long as you contain the other guys, I feel like
Yeah.
they can match up well with them.
Suns
So,
got underrated perimeter defense.
oh no, they're one of the best perimeter defenses in the league. like hands down.
Yeah, they don't get a lot of credit for it, but I think it's just because of the names that are the defenders. You know, your Josh
Yeah.
Okogis, your Torrey Craigs. They're
Cam Johnson's a
not,
pretty good perimeter defender too when he's
and he
healthy.
has been since he came back. He's not playing timid. He's not, like he's out there diving on the floor and everything. So,
Yep. And then we also
yeah.
forgot about Mikal Bridges, defensive player of the year candidate
He's
last
been
year.
consistent.
Really
He's
no
been
honest.
consistent.
So yeah, it's been really good. Lamar, do you have any thoughts on about like Devin Booker's return and where the Suns go from here and how things shape out in the West for them?
Yeah, gotta get Booker. First thing they gotta do is get healthy.
Yeah.
And stay healthy. I mean, Booker, he always come up with some weird hamstring problems towards the end of the season too. So
Yeah.
stay healthy, get that groin healed up, and if they can stay healthy. They stay healthy, they can compete.
Yeah, easier said than done, but
yeah. And Chris Paul too. You know, he gets them when playoff time come. All of a sudden, he get a hamstring or a hand injury, and
that's the thing too. Is you try to gauge like Paul's, like you want him to play, but at the same time, I don't want you to get hurt because I'm gonna need you. So, and if I don't play you, then I got to play somebody else by default. You know, Cameron Payne whenever he comes back. Saban Lee. Let's get into that.
Oh yeah. Let's get into that. Saban Lee and Dwayne Washington got waived. That's crazy. I mean, personally, I saw it coming because of the way Monty was talking up Saban Lee over the course of the time he's been here for the past couple weeks. And I do agree to an extent with how he's been playing in the pick and roll action and the way he defends. I get it's better than Dwayne Washington, but you are gonna miss a lot of that volume scoring that he gives you. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Because personally, I'm okay.
I'm like
with
you, Franklin. When you said that, I think you said it a couple days ago. I literally I get why they kept Saban Lee, but I think it's a personal like. If somebody told me my favorite team was finna sign Dwayne Washington as like a backup in the bench, I'd be fine with it just because I know what he can do. Saban Lee did do well, which is why he got the job, but still a lot to be worked out of how he performs for the long haul versus, span of some games. But I didn't really like it because it came at the expense of Dwayne, but maybe they know something we don't know. I mean, obviously Williams sees more in practice. He sees it more up personal in the game than we do. They draw, the way that they like their offensive, schematics to go. So maybe they have something behind the scenes with all the trade work with Crowder where they say, you know what, we don't need a somewhat volume scoring Dwayne if we're going to potentially go get, A, B, and C. So.
Yep. No,
but it did suck. Did suck.
I know because he's a fan favorite. What do you think, Rowan?
Oh yeah.
I just agree, man. I 100% agree. I think they got a move coming with Crowder. That's they trying to make some roster space and make some moves, get some players together, make some things happen. But
probably in the back of my head, the most nauseating trade saga that I think I've ever dealt with in my life.
Yep, I agree.
Because it's not even a big trade. It's little people. Respectfully, it's little people for little people. It's like we want those little people for this little people. No, we're not giving you this little person. We give this little like. Let's just get it done. Like Grayson Allen got in it. No, we don't want Grayson Allen. Like man, just get it done. Well, I don't like Grayson, but if he was holding up the deal, and it sounds like you don't have like a line of people trying to sign up to trade for Crowder, it's like sometimes you got to bite the bullet and just if you're getting the main people you want and you just have to take Grayson Allen, take him. He's not horrible. He still has a role that he can fill, but it's like, man, I feel like Crowder gonna be on this team come July for some reason, even though his deal is expiring soon. But man, dude's just gonna be here.
No, I agree. No, and it's kind of tough being in this circumstance because I think what the Suns really, really want is they want that third team to be a part of this to get a young star player for them that they can develop and have somebody alongside Book. Because if the way they see it, they see Chris Paul, he's getting older. Mikal Bridges, he's still developing into that rising star that you're hoping he can be. I think he's a very important piece to a championship team. Cam Johnson's not extended beyond this season, which is nerve wracking. You have question marks about DA. I have a feeling like they will never say that to us, but by actions wise and based off last offseason, they for sure have question marks on DA, and it's okay to say. And it's okay to say that. And also your bench has done really really well when guys have been out, but when the stars are slowly starting to come back around, you see the inconsistencies and the up and downs with scoring and lack of
That was
aggression.
last night.
And that
Yeah,
was last
that was
night.
last night.
And so it comes a point in time where it's like, I think the most important thing to salvage at least this season is worry about the young star player for the off season, but try to bolster that bench to make what you
Yeah,
have right now, because your window of opportunity is so small in this league. They've had the last 2 years. You have a little window this year. I think if they can find some way to bolster that bench with this Crowder trade, then you go from there going to the offseason. But I don't know. That's just how I view
but
the
a lot of people felt like the Suns' window was done this season. Like they felt like they had their moments last season, season for last. Kind of blew it. My bold take: they're not going to trade Aiden at the deadline, which I think that's kind of like pretty much concrete. I mean, anything can happen, but I think they're going to move him this offseason. I think the first thing that you're going to see happen is the Fred VanVleet signing. I think that's going to happen.
they're heavily
And
trying to get
and
him.
after that, I think a lot of dominoes are going to start to fall and shift because I think James Jones is banking on that whole internal development that he likes. But it's okay, I'm going to do that, but I'm giving y'all this whole season, well, this next part of the season to figure it out. And if not, I'm going to blow it up, not Booker and, but everybody else.
I think Booker and Bridges are safe. Everybody else is a
I
question
think
mark.
Johnson is safe, man. And it may be a personal bias. I think he's safe. If they can get if they can get a good price tag on Johnson, I think he's safe.
Yeah, I was like, what do you like? How does the contract extension look though? I like maybe he's a lot cheaper now because of the injuries, and maybe he's affordable more than ever. But yeah, I agree he should stay. But I'm just wondering how they're looking at.
He had a
that
couple of
situation.
off games, but if he's doing what he's been doing since he came back, maybe people don't even look at that meniscus because if you're watching him play, you're like, yeah, he tore his meniscus, but I can't tell. Everybody's injury prone to some degree, but I can't tell that he even just had surgery on it. Dude looks like he's been out there the whole season.
And even to allude to that, I think with Cam Johnson, it's minutes restrictions kind of a big reason why he's been inconsistent. I know he alluded to that a little bit after the game, where even Monty doesn't like that he's on minutes restriction, but you have to do right by the player based off the health professions and stuff like that know better. But as soon as he's off that minutes restriction, I think we'll get to see a little bit more of a consistent Cam Johnson 3-and-D kind of player, which is really, really good. And I think he's already shown flashes of being solid for them. He just needs more playing time.
Yeah, you can't build a rhythm really when you're in and out, and that, like you said, you saw it last night though. Like you said, I even think I wrote about it. The bench isn't being who they were when everybody was gone. Everybody kind of took a step back. It's like they're kind of timid, like, oh, I don't really know what to do. Now, Dario Saric is still Dario Saric, but, everybody else is kind of like, oh, I don't really know, so maybe they get that right, but I think they're going to probably use that Crowder trade to shake up little parts of the bench, not everything. But.
Yeah, I think you got to find a go-to scorer off the bench that can help spill stuff out. Personally, I like Bogdanovich, not from the Pistons, but from the Hawks. I personally like him.
He's got a price tag.
I know.
Yeah.
He's got
That's not going to happen, but
that's a super team.
Yeah.
And the only thing is he would require so much more than Crowder to get done. And I don't even know who on that bench would entice the Hawks enough to say, yeah, go ahead and take him.
Nobody.
If they want him, they have to give up Bridges or Johnson.
Yeah, you'd have to give up somebody that's one of your core pieces, which defeats the purpose at that point. So
not giving up a starter for a role for a 6-man player.
Hey,
Man.
Bogdanovich was prior to his injury, prior to coming to the Hawks, he might have could have got off as a
Oh, I
starter for a
agree. I
starter
understand.
trade.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but now, no, I wouldn't trade Bridges or Johnson just to get him. I'm losing something to
if
get him.
if that happens, James Jones need to be fired yesterday. Not
He already in the hot seat, so
I don't like. I'm not saying James Jones should be on the hot seat or anything. I'm saying if that trade happens, he needs to be fired on spot. That's crazy. But
Franklin's saying that now. But if we trade Ayton for Pascal Siakam, he will be
Oh,
in front of the
oh
Footprint
man,
Center.
I'm throwing a parade. I'm throwing a parade, man. Oh my goodness. If we
Man,
get
at this
Siakam-
point,
oh,
anybody,
I mean,
we just need a body.
I know the Suns really are trying to get OG Anunoby. What are your guys' thoughts on
I like
that?
I think they need
I
to
like
bring
him a
Fred
lot.
and OG over here.
I like him. I think he kind of
Yeah.
fits into what the Suns do. I like him. It's just what the Raptors want for him that comes
They're
back
interested in
to it.
DA. They were interested in Aiden last offseason.
Oh,
I
say,
would,
like,
and see, this is how you know I don't hate Aiden because I would not let Aiden go for just OG Anunoby. Like,
No.
money wise, it doesn't match, but still, like,
Yeah, you gotta get
I
more
wouldn't just
pieces
say
for that.
yeah, I need more. I need a good little bit more out of them.
Personally, I don't think you can get a lot from Aiden this offseason anyway, which is why I keep him, honestly.
I think he's a monster for a trade bait. He's just not
Oh,
a
for
monster
sure.
in the paint.
There's a
I
lot
think
of
you can get whatever
teams.
you want for Jae Crowder and Aiden right now.
Yeah, I think Jacob alluded to this last week, but there's a lot of teams that value Aiden in high regard. Like they see promise in him as to be a young star in this league.
If Shams or Woj literally tweeted right now and said the Suns are seriously engaged in trade talks for DeAndre Ayton, their phone would be blowing up right now. Like, it goes without saying. I mean, it's just what they could get for him. That's the main thing. It doesn't make sense. You can kind of go find another big to do what Ayton does. Maybe not to the degree he does it on some nights when he goes 20-20, but I mean, heck, let's be honest. Busy gets in there and does a lot of big man work. You know, I'm just saying.
That's his knows his role.
Not saying he's a DA or anything, but if you really wanted to get him out and get a go-to scorer in there, you could find another big man to stick in there for the meantime.
I think I agree 100%, man. They don't even need to get another big for DA. They can get anybody.
Well, that's because of the way the offense and scheme is set up.
I was going to say, you got to think DA doesn't even play a traditional big man role. I mean,
that's what Shaq was kind of saying of why, like, in terms of like why he thinks the hate for Aiden is kind of a little overboard, mainly because of the way the Suns utilize him on the offensive side. It's not like your typical traditional centers, and it doesn't really get a lot of scoring outputs in that regard, but we shall see. I mean, I think with the way that the Suns, their way their team is kind of constructed, you can plug and play a center with D Book and Mikal Bridges and be fine. Because especially if he's a defensive anchor like Biz, I think you're going. And I think DeAndre Ayton's a pretty good defender as is, but
And honestly, the Suns don't have a bad depth as far as big men go. Their depth is not bad. It's not, once again, not the flashiest names, but Dario gets in there and does what he needs to do. Biz gets in there and does what he needs to do. And then every so and now and then you'll have Drop get in there and does what he like. They don't have a horrible bench depth when it comes to big men if they had to plug them in. So I find it hard to believe you couldn't go out there and get you a solidified big man. And if you had to move Ayton, you could move him for something that you really want, which is a legitimate go-to scorer, number 2 option, such as, Zach LaVine, or if you wanted another big, you could get Rowan's favorite best friend, his number 1 guy, Vucevic. And everything works out, Vucevic to Phoenix. I mean, so
man, Vucevic and LaVine would be a nasty trade. I think Van Vliet and OG would be a nasty trade. But as much as we hate on DeAndre Ayton, over the last 4 games, he scored 21 points and 12.5
Oh,
rebounds.
I think personally, the game where he got a lot of flack for, which was the game he came back. I forgot
Yeah.
that was the game against the Mavericks. He got a lot of flack because of the rebound he didn't get and all this other stuff, and like, he didn't shoot the ball efficiently. But in my opinion, again, the bench was a problem. Like, they only scored 95 points, and I think they only had 11 bench points. Like, Damian Lee didn't attempt a single shot that game in 18 minutes, and he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Ish Wainwright is like
I,
1 of 6.
I
Like,
can't even be mad at him these past couple of games. I really can't.
with Aiden,
I even think he would have had. Yeah, I don't even think Aiden had a bad game yesterday. It was just that the league got so far that everybody got pulled out. So
he's just an
no,
easy
he didn't.
scapegoat at this point.
Yeah,
Man, let me tell you the problem.
Oh no.
His plus and minus is minus 24 over those same 4 games. He scored 21 and 12. Plus and minus is one of the biggest things in the NBA. That
Yeah.
means you get dogged up on the other end if you putting up good numbers.
I'm also looking too in his last 3 games. He got no block shots.
That's good.
That's a problem.
it's the way he plays.
Yeah.
And when it's good, it's good. But when it's not, especially on the defensive end, it's kind of like, do I really care if you're doing your baby hooks if I can't depend on you to come back down and lock up an undersized center? Because most of these teams play with smaller centers now. It really doesn't matter.
He lost on that goal too much for me, man.
Man, I just want 2020 playoff DA, man. That man was a
I
monster.
think he's gone.
That man was a monster.
I think that was like a trial run. And
I don't even
he's
think
out
he-
here. The
I don't
flat
even-
he
he's
caught
a
against
trial
the
run.
Mavericks, because then they just played the Mavericks not too long ago.
Yeah, he was
And-
like 6 of 20 that game.
The flack he caught, not just on that end, but it was on the defensive end, because it was like I saw people saying, "Oh, you're letting Dwight Powell lock you up. You're not even, and that's a repeating case for him." So
Yeah.
it's kind of like I don't think you get that DA back. I think that was a moment, and I think it left. And it's either like some people are saying. My only thing that I want, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying this. Let's just accept DA for who he is and stop trying to push him to be this go-to superstar number 2. Let's just leave him what he is, and maybe then we'll be better. But the Saints have to get something else in there so that all that pressure comes off of him. That's just how it works. I mean, until then, he's going to be a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come at McCall Bridges, who's primarily known as a defender. Nobody's going to come at Chris Paul, who's 37 years old. They're going to come at the guy that just got a maximum extension this summer.
Number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, and the number 1 draft pick over Luka and the Trae Youngs. And Trae Young couldn't miss last night. My Lord, he couldn't miss.
He was 3 of 3 from 3. 20
3
points,
of 3, 12 assists.
20 points.
Master
He didn't make
That's
the All-Star
efficient.
team, by the way.
Yeah, tough crowd.
Dang.
Tough crowd this year.
Yeah.
I mean, if Zion made the All-Star thing, All-Star roster, I think DeAndre Ayton had a chance. I really think he did. But when you got people like Sabonis who's probably going to take that spot, you got people like Sabonis that's going to take that spot. Ayton's way far down. Way far down.
No, you're right.
Zion is electric.
He is. He is
Electrically in an electric wheelchair, yeah. I mean, he's
Dang.
always injured. I mean,
Nah, I ain't gonna lie.
you know,
I didn't really ever was a fan of him, but the way he had the city of New Orleans buzzing, it is special.
oh, for sure. For sure. And when he does play, granted, because I know you've seen some of his games. I've seen some of the games like in person. When he does play, he takes the roof off, but it's when you play because of your injuries. I mean, the Pelicans may be like even higher than they are right now if he was playing, if Brandon Ingram was playing.
Oh,
B-
1,000%. They'd be right there with Memphis. Maybe
yeah,
a
they'd be a
better
lot
record.
higher.
They might have a better
They
record
got
than
some
Memphis right now.
dogs. They
Yeah,
got
they
some
play-
dogs over there, man.
Yeah, they're playing good ball when they both are healthy, but
That's
It's when they're healthy.
It's similar
Yeah,
to the
you-
Suns, man, when they're healthy.
That's like the new NBA slogan, bro. Every year
Yeah.
it's like nothing but
Well,
injuries.
if healthy, yeah. If healthy.
I feel like when we was kids, superstars wasn't getting injured. Like,
Yeah.
No, they was
Stan
playing
Van Gundy said that. Stan
playing
Van Gundy
82
said that on
games a
Twitter.
season.
Stan Van Gundy said that. He said the stars of the past played all the games. He said, but somehow people sit out all these games now, and there's more
Still
injuries. It was like something's not adding up. I was like, hey, fair point. You got me. I mean, it's true.
yeah, bro. Like it's been minor injuries, sprained ankles and stuff. I don't ever remember like just out for like seasons,
Just
like
out.
the whole season done.
Yeah, people are scared to buy tickets now. You don't even know if your favorite player is going to suit up because of something minor that probably isn't anything.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson for the Knicks, man. I heard it on the radio coming home. Just out of nowhere out.
Really?
Dang.
Tonight, yeah.
That's and that's probably load management because he was just fine the other day. Like literally, the last game they played, he was just fine.
Did you say he was like sick or something like that, Rowan?
Yeah, some illness. But yeah, crazy. I don't know. I heard it from a radio guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how official it is. I know he's not playing. I believe the dude.
And that's not being biased, but then if you turn around and look at the Suns who have dealt with legitimate injuries, like they're not resting dudes. Mikal Bridges does not take a night off. You know, Booker had a legit groin issue. Cameron Johnson legitimately tore his. These are dudes that are not taking nights off. And then you got guys around the league that just take them off and then wonder why they're in the play-in spot come, March, April.
Taking games off and just basically forfeiting games is what I call it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Life's tough, crazy. Man. It's 2023, baby.
Yeah.
All sports are changing. We about to have robot umpires next year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They probably need some robot referees at this point, Ron. I mean,
hey, it's the human nature of the game.
The calls this year have been.
Talking about basketball?
Agree.
Yeah.
You talking about basketball or football? That's crazy everywhere.
Yeah,
that's crazy everywhere.
Yeah.
But basketball has probably been the worst this season, I think, than I've seen.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started about the LeBron James situation, man.
Yeah.
Hey, he was fouled.
But
hand part of the
you
ball.
literally have had calls like that handed to you your entire career, where it may have not went that way. In 2012 in the finals, you fouled Durant in similar fashion in a game that could have put them up 2-0. That's been the case for him a lot. LeBron's he don't need me to say it, but he is who he is. But I get why he was upset, but then y'all literally in that game that you're talking about went to overtime and you cut the dial off and you just went like Pat Bev wasted more energy walking the camera over to the referee than he did playing in overtime. You're not going to win like that. That's my only thing. Like the Lakers want to complain about the refs for the past 3 games, but what about all the other games that have y'all where y'all are right now? You got to take accountability, and that's front office too, not making the right moves.
I'll start with this. What about the games that LeBron take off when I don't think he needed to take off?
Point. And granted, AD's been hurt, but
you play that Nets game, you probably win.
Yeah.
Well, basically to end this show, we're all in agreement of sports is rigged. So
no.
That has been going around, Rowan.
No.
I know you saw it on Twitter what player was that said that the NFL
Trust me. People that say it's rigged. People that say it's rigged and scripted. They don't understand
this was
that you win some and you lose some, and anything can happen on any hot ham day.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just for closing thoughts, you guys can talk about whatever. What's like thoughts on your mind about any team, any sports, anything you guys can think of as we wrap up?
Man, Pac-12 basketball is heating up. It's getting crazy. 8 games left till March. I think it's 9 games left. ASU just tipped off against Oregon State. Lost 4 in a row. They could have been first in the Pac-12. They would have beat UCLA about 10 days ago. 2 weeks later, they in 6th place, 4 losses in a row, 6-5, playing against a 9-13 Oregon State. They need to get this game. But that's all I want to talk about real quick. Some
Nice.
college hoops. March Madness right around the corner. Arizona State, they're the next 4 out right now. So they're not even in the tournament. Need a couple games.
Chris, any thoughts?
Randomly, I fear for Lamar's headache health for the upcoming WNBA season. Because the Aces are, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they just literally loaded a clip and
They got a
just,
super
like,
team.
Yeah.
whew,
They got a super team for sure.
filthy.
Candace
filthy,
Parker, oh my goodness.
Them and the Liberty.
filthy. Yeah, and the Liberty.
Brian
So-
Stewart, John Carroll Jones, and Courtney Vandersloot with Unesco. Yeah, that's gonna be
Gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
And I love
what-
Mercury, but man.
they're in a bad
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Man.
I don't want to say they getting old, but it's like it's time for a new everything in Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
Not like the team, just like new roster.
Yeah,
Get some young players in there.
that's what the Sky doing right now. All of Vandersloot and Parker and all them was in their 30s. That Chicago, like, yeah, it's time to break it up, rebuild, go young.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you, Lamar? Is it kind of similar thoughts or?
Well, something popped up earlier when we was talking about the Sean Payton thing. I wonder if they didn't have to trade for Sean Payton, would they have to sign him? I think they would have. I think they would have signed him if they didn't have to trade for him, give up a first or second round pick.
Nah, that
Yeah,
is true.
Yeah,
Those are
They need that
valuable.
first pick.
that's kind of. It's
That's-
kind of
that's-
hard. It's kind of hard to give up on them picks when you need some pieces.
Yeah, no,
Especially
you're
when
100% correct.
Well, especially when you're picking that high.
Yeah, and they need an O line. I know you don't
Yeah.
pick O line that high, but that's what they need.
You need it.
They should spend every bet on O lines, every pick on O lines, not bet. Excuse me.
Yep, mine's is pretty much like Super Bowl, I guess. Probably just kind of a good matchup between Eagles and Chiefs. I think the Eagles are a really good. Have that probably in my opinion, the Eagles have the best roster in the game. But I don't know. Some's telling me that Mahomes might get it done. Some tell me Mahomes might get it done. But I don't know. We shall see.
I think Mahomes gonna get it. I don't want him to, but I think he will. It's just Mahomes gives me Curry vibes. All right.
Yeah, he
does. Do
He
you
really
need
does.
to win it every time around? No. Are you probably going to? Yes. Like, I would love for the Eagles to win, but I don't know. The way it's scripted, Rowan.
Scripted.
You know,
Let me tell you the
Hold
script
on.
right now. You bet the Eagles first quarter, bet the Eagles first half, and then you take the Chiefs money line to win the game at the end.
that sounds
Pete Mahomes.
really
We'll
bad.
we'll see if the directors align with that thought process, bro.
Chiefs win
See if
34-33.
their Chiefs get any more do-overs.
Yeah.
Right.
Eagles gonna go up
Yeah.
early on them, man. First quarter, first half, and then
You think
take
they're
the
gonna
Chiefs
lose
money line.
momentum, just lose gas towards the end? Let up.
I think Pete Mahomes and Steph Curry, baby. You just said it. They was
Oh,
down
no,
10 to
man.
the Niners when they won it the first time. In the
Hey,
fourth,
man.
I think.
Yeah, they were. Yes, they were.
He's like a Steph Curry. He just pulls stuff out of nowhere, even when it looks like they're done. I mean,
I think he's
I
gonna
don't
get
I
eight,
think
man.
I think he got to win this one.
I think him and Burrow just gonna go back to back to back.
I
to
think
back.
they got to
It's gonna
win.
be
I think he got to win this one because they gonna. Then if he lose this one, they be like, oh, well, you go to all these AFC Championship games and Super Bowls, but you lose.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
he won or
so-
two.
Oh yeah, if he loses another
And they
one,
went with 5 straight
people are gonna
AFC
go
Championship games. They start talking. They start.
See,
That's
Jalen
gonna
Hurts
suck.
Too young, man.
That's gonna
Mahomes got
suck
that
for,
experience.
yeah, it's gonna suck for Mahomes, man. Because if he wins, people are saying, "Oh, he's the GOAT. He's the next in line. He's gonna surpass Brady with rings." If he loses, they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's legacy defining. He can't win the big."
Yeah,
Well,
so
he
they
won the
all-
big one, but he's like,
They always, it's always.
"Yeah, it sucks."
Crazy.
yeah, it's always something.
Nah,
It's always crazy narrative.
Yeah, Drew Brees
like moving
and
the
Aaron
goalpost.
Rodgers could only win one.
He's the best talent we've ever seen. I said it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he's the best talent we've ever
That's
seen.
a
at the
bold
position.
take.
He's the
That's
best
bold take.
talent we've ever seen at the position, regardless what
Bold
happens.
take. Will you? Can I hold you to that? Cone?
Yes, you can hold me to that. He's the best talent we've ever seen at the quarterback position.
You got the
hands
Eagles
down.
like that, Chris?
I want them to win, but I know they're not. I don't want to go out on a whim and say they're like the Chiefs are the best talent.
Man,
I mean,
think Chiefs
I'm not saying
get
they're
it
not,
done.
but
Oh no, the Eagles have the better roster than the Chiefs. I just think Mahomes gonna find a way.
He's gonna find a way. He's Curry 2.0.
Chiefs got
and because it's scripted.
Of course.
But yes.
People got millions of dollars and y'all think it's scripted.
That's why it's scripted.
That's why it's scripted.
In it.
Makes great television. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode of Feel the Burn podcast. Tune in every Thursday for episodes that we talk about the Suns and the Cardinals and everything Arizona sports. I was your host today, Franklin Miller, along with Rowan Donaghy, Chris Denson, Lamar Fields. Tune in next Thursday. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
Yes, sir.